Welcome back everyone. Am I audible properly?
This meeting is being recorded.
So yesterday we discussed about Spring Boot runners. Spring Boot runners. And what we have seen in Spring Boot runners, they are functional interface whose method will be called automatically whenever Spring application is starting. Whenever Spring application is starting. There are two type of runners. There are two type of runner. The first one is command line runner and second one is application runner. Generally there is no that is the only difference between them. Then we have something else. Now am I audible? Okay. So if both the interfaces are implemented, Then how to control their execution? So for that we have seen one annotation, that is order annotation. And in this order annotation we can give value, the smaller value to the interface that we want to execute first. So that is what we have seen about runners. Now we are going to talk about something very interesting, that is JPA and ORM. That is JPA and ORM. JPA and ORM. So let's understand what is JPA and what is ORM. So we will start writing their full form. So the full form of JPA is Java Persistence API. Java Persistence API. The full form of ORM is Object Relational Mapping. Object Relational Mapping. So that is JPA, Java Persistence API. ORM is Object Relational Mapping. Now let's understand one architecture here. Let's say this is your Spring application. And generally the structure of a Spring application looks something like this, that it will have src main Java, src main resources, and pom.xml. These are the three required things that it will have. Now in src main Java only we will have our main package, that is com.spring or anything. Then we will have com.spring.repo, or like any package name you can have it, just for your reference I am writing. This is how your Spring application will look like this. Now this Spring application is trying to store some values in database, or it is trying to communicate with the database. I will not say just storing. It is trying to communicate with the database. Now, as Java does not have direct capability to communicate with database, we are using some of the APIs or some of the specifications. So till now we have seen that we can use normal JDBC API, right? We can see Spring JDBC as well. We can see Spring JDBC as well. So whenever you want to communicate with this database, we have seen two options till now. We have seen two options till now, right? So these are the two particular APIs, or you can say specification, that we have seen now. Now, what is the problem in this approach? Is there any problem? So let's try to discuss about some of the problems that we are having while using JDBC or Spring JDBC. The very first problem is we have to write the query. We have to write the query for all the operations, right? In JDBC also you are writing the query. In Spring JDBC also you are writing the query. Spring JDBC is just an updated version of JDBC. So the first problem is we have to write the query. As a Java developer, we are supposed to write the query for all database related operations. First thing, that is the first problem. Now, the second problem is if we want to insert the values, then we have to write a query like insert into employee values, and here you have to provide the values like this. Now, if I ask you a very simple question, and the question is this query enough for all the databases? Generally, we are having MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, Cassandra. So I am asking, I will write the same query. Is it enough for all the database? So the answer is no. This query is not enough. So the answer is the above query is a database dependent query. The above query is database dependent query. It means that this query is for a specific type of database. This query is for a specific type of database. That is also a problem. It means that if we are working with different databases, then we have to change the query. You can say change or update the query. This is the second problem. When we are talking about third problem, there are lot of manual steps. There are lot of manual steps, or let's say using JDBC or Spring JDBC, table is created by developer. These are the main problems that we are facing in JDBC or Spring JDBC. Now, if you have to ask a very simple percentage that how many peoples in companies are using Spring JDBC, so the answer is very simple. All over the world, 20%. Then what 80% are using? I'm not saying that Spring JDBC is not, it is used. Still, peoples are using this. Then what is used up to an extent? JPA and ORM, 80%. There might be something good in JPA and ORM. That's why people are using it, right? That's why people are using it. So when we were talking about Spring JDBC and this particular part, there were several problems, and these are the problems. When we are working with JDBC or Spring JDBC, we have to face some challenges. These are the challenges that we have to face while we are working with JDBC and Spring JDBC. Now, how we will solve this problem? So the solution of this problem is JPA. And again, like JDBC is there, for that we have Spring JDBC also, like updated version of JDBC. Here also we have JPA, then we have the updated version of JPA that is called Spring Data JPA. That is called Spring Data JPA. Now let's talk completely about JPA at first. So here I will say JPA, that is Java Persistence API. What do you understand by this word persistence? What is the meaning of this word persistence? In general term, I am asking, I am not asking related to programming. What is the meaning of persistence? No. Journal meaning of persistence. This word is derived from the word persist. You can search it if you want. What is the meaning of word persist and persistence? Yes, you can search. Yes. The meaning of persistence or persist is to retain, to retain. This is the meaning of this word, to retain. Now, what is retain? Retain is the word where you can retain the value. Now, let's understand one thing. I will write a simple Java code here. So there was int a equals to 45, a equals to a plus 1, system dot out dot println a. What will be the answer of this question? 46, right? Now, after printing the value of a, if I am asking to a, do you know about 45? So at this point of time, a knows something about 45. Answer is no. It does not know anything about 45 because a has a value 46 now. A has a value 46 now. Means this a is not persisting its value. This a is not persisting its value. Persisting means it's not have the capability to retain its value. You have to do a minus minus, then only it will understand what is 45. So this is, yes, remember, kind of. Okay. What will be the output of this code? 40? It's 45, not 46. It's 45, not 46. Because it is the post decrement, post increment. At first, this a value will get printed, then a plus plus will work. So persistence means the capability, or you can say the ability to persist the value, the ability to persist the value, that is called JPA. Now this JPA is totally based on ORM. This JPA is totally based on ORM. So we should understand what is ORM, right? We should understand at first what is ORM. So that is object relational mapping. So let's understand what is ORM. Object relational mapping. It is an approach to connect with the, or to communicate with the database. To communicate with the database. What is ORM? It is an approach to communicate with the database. How the communication will go here in ORM? So let's understand. You will have a Java application. We will have one Java application. And in this Java application, there will be a class of employees. There will be a class of employees. And this class of employee will have some field, something like this: private int id, private string name, private strings, private int salary. Now this is a Java class, And here we will have our database. Here we will have our database. Now in between we are not writing JDBC or Spring JDBC. So we are writing something called as JPA plus ORM, because ORM is implemented by this JPA only. Now what will happen in this case? At first we don't have to create the table. The very first benefit of using JPA and ORM, at first we don't have to create the table. What we will do? We will just write one annotation over the class. I will write one annotation, that is entity. So I will just write one annotation over this class entity. This entity means database table. I am just writing entity and I will run the application. And what it will do? It will create. So let's say this is your class now. This class will be converted to the database table. This class will be converted to a database table. This ID field will become the ID column of the table. This string name will become the name column of table. This salary column will become the salary. Now, whenever we are talking about this particular structure, this is a Java class, right? This is a Java class. Now, in this particular class, what we will be having? Yes, database we need to create. This class will be having getters and setters like this. Now, what you did, you just prepared a object of this class. What I did, I just prepared an object of the class. For that, I will say emp equals to new emp and e dot set id. ID I have given as 101. E dot set name I have given as ABC. Then E dot set salary, and salary any random number. Now this is how I have prepared an object of the class. I have prepared an object of the class. Now again, when I am running this code, I'm not writing any query. When I am running this code, the ID value will automatically come to the ID field. The name value will come into the name column of table. Thus value of salary will come inside the salary column. It means that in just writing the things, there is no change. In just writing the things, how many queries we have written? How many queries we have written till now? Zero. And it is technically possible. It is technically possible that without even writing a query to create the table, because anyhow a query for creating the table will be different for all the databases. Answer is yes. So we are not creating table. We are just saying entity. We are just saying entity. Now JPA knows, ORM knows how to create table with according to our database. We will just give our driver class name that this is the driver of my database. Create query, create table. Second, when I'm trying to create a or insert an employee, I just prepared a Java object. I just prepared a Java object. Again, just run the application and we got all those values in our database. Right? So all these values will automatically be mapped into this. That's why we call it as ORM, object relational mapping. The values of a Java object will go into the separate column of the table. ORM. Now, as you are preparing a Java object, what you are doing? You are preparing a Java object. It is independent of database. It does not depend on any database now. The insert query will be written by this particular JPA and ORM. This query will be written by JPA and ORM. We will not write the query. Who will write? JPA and ORM. So it means that we will write zero queries in all the operations. So the answer is yes. For performing the CRUD operation, for performing the CRUD operation, you will write zero queries. No query at all. Now, if you are getting a question that can we write query or not? So the answer is yes. If you want, you have that what insect inside you to write the query. So the answer is yes, you can write the query even in ORM also. It will support your query as well, but generally there is no need. So what exactly we are achieving by ORM? So we are achieving database independence. The first thing that we are achieving here is database independence. It means we do not depend on database now. We do not depend on database now. We are just database independent. Being a Java developer, Purni, what is this question? What is the individual operation of JPA? Specify your question, what you want to ask. Being a Java developer, we will write our entire code in Java. That is the second benefit. That if we are Java developer, why we should write SQL query, why we should create table? No, Java will handle it for you. So that is the overview of ORM, that how ORM actually works. How ORM actually works. If you want to create table, if you want to create table, just write one annotation over the class that is at the rate of entity. That's it. Now entity means it's a table. So its query will be written. If you are working with MySQL, generally that is not a tension now because we will not write any database query. So doesn't matter which database you are working. So if any class is having entity, ORM will try to write a query, something like this. Create table. It will take your class name as the table name. So create table EMP. You can change it by the way by default. You mean to ask without ORM what is the work of JPA? Even I think I haven't stopped talking about the topic. So if you are having patience within some time, you will get to know what is the use of ORM and what is the use of JPA. ORM is a approach and you will use JPA to achieve ORM, or you can say ORM is used to achieve JPA. Both work together. So how it will write the query? Create table EMP. It will take your class name as the table name by default. It will take your first field exactly same ID. The data type is int. If you are working with int, so it will write ID int, or else it will write ID number, like that. ID in int. Now it will check what is your next field. Your next field is name. So it will write name. You can change it also. You can change it. Name varchar. The by default length, because varchar requires a length. So by default it will write 255. By default. 255 means how many bits? 8 bits. 255 means 8 bits. And after that it will take salary again in int. Can we change the length of our string? So the answer is yes, of course. 255 means unnecessary waste of the memory. So we can change it by default. If you are not providing any extra information, you are just writing entity tag. If you are just writing this entity annotation, then this is how your ORM or JPA will write these queries. This query will be written by the ORM or JPA. Now, actually, these are the approaches. These are the approaches. Approaches means if I am saying, did I said that to change the length we have to write query? Then I am saying that we will just make some change. We will not write any query. We will write annotation only. Don't just assume the things on your assumption. Let's say we are saying encapsulation, and encapsulation is a OOPS concept. So we will say that it is an approach. It is an approach to encapsulate the data and method. But encapsulation, it is just an approach. How to follow this encapsulation or how to achieve this? We have to declare our methods as private and we have to generate their getter setter. We have to generate their getter setter. Like this we will do. Same way JPA and ORM, JPA and ORM are the approach. We need frameworks here that are called ORM frameworks. We need some of the frameworks here to work on to achieve ORM. The framework that we are going to use is Hibernate. The framework that we are going to use is Hibernate, or you can call Hibernate. Do we have other frameworks also? So answer is yes. This Hibernate is a Java based framework. We have JBoss. We have entity framework. We have entity framework. And what we are going to use here? Hibernate. Which framework will be used by us? Hibernate. Why specifically Hibernate only? Is there any reason behind it? So the answer is yes. The reason is that we are learning all these things so that at last we can understand about Spring Data JPA, right? At last, this is what we will achieve, Spring Data JPA. And now this Spring Data JPA internally use Hibernate. So this Spring's Data JPA internally uses Hibernate. That is the first reason. Second reason is this entity framework is for C sharp. If you are writing your code in C sharp or C++, then you can use entity framework. If you are writing your code in Java, but it is having less support, this JBoss is having very less support. So we are left with this particular framework, that is Hibernate. That is Hibernate. So how our approach will be there? So at first we will talk about JPA and ORM by using Hibernate. We will achieve these things by using Hibernate. And Hibernate is not a library or function. Hibernate is a complete ORM framework. It's a complete ORM framework. And when we are talking about Spring Data JPA, it uses Hibernate internally. If you remember the starting classes, I have written a line that Spring is a framework of frameworks. Spring is a framework of frameworks. Because Spring internally uses a lot of framework inside it, right? Like Hibernate, Struts, and all those. Internally, you just have to use Spring and it will use all those frameworks. So that is the complete overview about ORM, right? That is the complete overview about ORM. Now, let's start writing them in a structured way. So I will make a note here that ORM and JPA are related to each other, are related to each other. They are related to data persistence. They are related to data persistence. Now we should understand what is data persistence. Data persistence. Just now we discussed about persistent word, that to retain the value. So data persistence is the data within application itself is volatile. Volatile means, what do you mean by volatile? I will give a simple type of memory. Answer is correct, but half correct. We have two type of memory, RAM and ROM. Which one is volatile in this, RAM or ROM? ROM. No. This RAM is a volatile memory. This RAM is a volatile memory. Now just a simple example. In the Paint software, I have written all these things, right? If I just press the power off key of my system and I restart my system, will I get whatever I have written in my Paint? Answer is no. I will not get whatever is written inside my print or even in Word or whatever. Entire data will lost. So volatile means data will lost if there is no active session. Now there are lot of reason behind the non-active session, power failure, lot of. So we can say that volatile means temporary. Volatile means temporary. It's not permanent. Now in my hard disk, I have stored this JPA and ORM file. If I restart my computer 10 times, it will be still there. No data lost. This is non-volatile. So when we are talking about the word volatile, so the data within application itself is volatile. Means if I am writing some data in the application, hard coded values, or let's say if I'm trying to create a, generally you don't know about local storage and sessions. There is one concept in JavaScript that is local storage. You know about that? So as of now, you can understand about this that the data within application itself is volatile and it has to be stored permanently. It has to be stored permanently, or we can say that this data has to be persisted. Means we should persist this data. We should persist this data. And when we're talking about persist this data, data persistence is a phenomenon where an application will retain or persist the data. So data persistence is a phenomena where the data will be persisted by the application. Now, a simpler way or a simple way to achieve data persistence. Okay, one example for it. Let's say you have created a Java application and in that you have created an array. Now the data of array you are taking from user. So user will enter some of the data. Let's say you are taking numbers from the user. So these are the values written by user. If I am restarting the application, will these values be there or not? Answer is no. These values will not be available in the application. It will forget. So that's why we are saying the data within application is volatile. Means if you are restarting or something, the data will lost. So we have to persist this data. Persist means whenever user is writing some data, we should store that in database. We should store that data in database. That is persistence. A simple way to achieve data persistence is JDBC. Yes, JDBC is there. That we can achieve data persistence using JDBC. Then what is JDBC? So again, we know that it's an API that we can use to communicate with a database. But there are several problems There are several problems in JDBC API. To solve all those problems, we have JPA, that is Java Persistence API. Last time we were having JDBC API, now we are having Java Persistence API. Now, if you want to write the problems of JDBC, so already I have mentioned there that what are the particular problems in the JDBC. To solve all those problems, we have JPA provided by Java. Provided by Java. So who is providing this? Java. JPA uses ORM. JPA uses ORM. What is ORM? That is Object Relational Mapping. So JPA uses ORM to communicate with database. So JPA is an specification, like JDBC is a specification API. This JPA is also an specification. So we can say simply that JPA is also a specification like JDBC. Then what is the difference between JDBC and JPA? The specification difference is normal JDBC is required us to write queries and it was database dependent. JDBC is database dependent, but this JPA is not database dependent. So we'll mention the same thing. While JDBC is a database dependent specification, but JPA is database independent. Now, if there is a question, why JPA, why do why JPA is database independent? What is the answer for this question? Answer is as JPA works with Java objects, as JPA works with Java object, in JPA we are not required to write the query. That's why JPA is database independent. That is why only this particular JPA is database independent, right? That is why this is database independent. How the architecture of this will go? So it's just a normal example. This is your Java application. I'm not writing a Spring application, just writing Java application. It will be having Java classes, and all these Java classes will be at the rate of entity. That's it. They will be entity. So this Java application will have some of the Java classes which will be written as entity. And here we will have database. And just remember that we will be working on relational databases. It will not work on non-relational database. It will only work on relational database. And here we have the relational database. In between of that, is in between of this database and the Java application, we will have some of the internal component. So we will directly interact with a JPA provider. Now this JPA provider can be anyone. It can be Hibernate, it can be Entity Framework. And internally what they will use? Internally they will also use JDBC only. Internally they will use JDBC. So now also internally JPA will use JDBC, but you don't have to interact with this JDBC. We will interact with this JPA provider. We will interact with this JDBC or JPA provider, and how they are doing internally, we don't have to worry about that. So that is a typical architecture of a JPA application like this. Now there is a question. Question is, can we use JPA alone? Can we use JPA alone? The answer is no. Just now we said it use ORM. So it's same. If I ask you, can we use JDBC alone? Answer is no. What we need with JDBC? The driver, right? The driver of that database. Even JDBC also we can't use alone. Why? Because this is just a specification. So in the same way, we will mention the answer here that no, JPA cannot be used alone. As already discussed, as already discussed, JPA is a specification. What is JPA? It is a specification. So it does not provide implementation. So it does not provide I hope from JDBC you are getting this particular part, that it is a specification. It will not provide the implementation. So it means that JPA solely defines a set of classes and interface without defining its implementation. So this JPA will say that, okay, these are the classes you have, these are the interfaces you have without their implementation. Hence, we require an external ORM tool to implement JPA. We require some external ORM tool. This OR, there are, you can say there are several ORM tools available, like there are actually many are available. So we have Hibernate, we have JBoss, we have Entity Framework, we have Entity Framework, we have iBetis, we have iBetis, we have Eclipse Link, we have Top Link. Others are also there, but we don't use all of them. Why? Because at last we are working with Spring, and Spring internally uses Hibernate. So this is going to be our go-to framework for ORM, right? Our discussion is going to be on Hibernate. We will just use Hibernate. So we will say what is Hibernate. Hibernate or Hibernate. Hibernate is an ORM framework. Hibernate is an ORM framework. The good thing about Hibernate is that it was introduced even before the concept of JPA. So this JPA concept was not in market. Before that we got Hibernate. It is a very powerful application, like very powerful. I will show you some of the example. Whenever you are seeing any job related to Java development or Spring Boot, you just check the requirement, what particular software they are requiring. Generally, it is not providing. Whenever you are seeing a Java developer job, uh, there are some of the important things will be there. Let me write it for you. You can check it. Generally, Infosys is hiring a Java developer now, but it's a senior position. If you have 5+ year of experience, you can apply. And what they are asking in requirement, they are asking that you should know what is Spring, you should have worked with Spring Boot, you should have worked with Hibernate, you should have worked with SQL, you should worked with microservices, and you should have worked with Docker. These are the requirements that you will see frequently. Let's go to naukri.com. Java, Spring Boot, Hibernate, Microservice, J2EE. J2EE is simply Java Enterprise Edition. So everywhere this Hibernate is asked as a skill, and this was the same job that I was talking about. This Java developer, this one. I know about this job because HR called me for this, but I said no. And let's say persistent system is hiring. This is another company. You should have experience in Spring Boot, Spring Data JPA. You should have knowledge of Hibernate, right? And you should know about Postgres SQL database or SQL. Generally, Oracle is not asked that much in interviews, and you should have complete knowledge of SQL. So if you don't have, you can learn it. Everywhere you will see this Hibernate as a ORM framework. You will never see these. You will never see this JBoss entity because entity framework is for C++, iBase, Eclipse Link, Top Link, never. Because Hibernate is like backbone of JPA. You can search other jobs as well. I'm not saying that just use a search that only. In most of the jobs, you will see that. So here, Spring Boot, strong knowledge of SQL and experience with the if Oracle is not asking anywhere, then why we are learning Oracle? I cannot answer this question that why you learned Oracle because it was up to you. But let me tell you one thing. Whenever you are talking about highly used databases, so you have MySQL, you have Oracle, and then you have Postgres SQL. These are the three databases that you have primarily used in the industry. All these three are relational database. All these are relational database. And all these three are based on SQL. You are learning Oracle because it has the I version and C version and G version. Generally, Oracle has the capability to be connected to internet. So that's why you are using Oracle. But as a safe side, I think I have already discussed it with you. It doesn't matter what technology you know. It will take one day for your company to change your tech stack. I have given my example there, right? I was hired as a Java developer, but my team lead said me on the day of joining that you have 15 days to learn React Native. Learn and come. Because all the things are related to each other. Now, if you ask me if you know Java, how much time it and for learning Java you have spent 6 months. Just take it that you have spent 6 months. Now, if you are trying to learn any other programming language like C++, how much time it will take? I will say around 10 to 15 days. Why? Because almost every concept is same. Almost every concept. Then what is the difference? Here you will write system.out.println. There you will write something like this. That's it. There you will write something like this. Syntax will change. When you are learning one framework, let's say you have learned Spring Boot. You have learned about Spring Boot and you will spend around 3.5 months into this. Journal time. After learning Spring Boot, if I am asking you that today you have to learn Node.js, the framework of JavaScript. How much time today? Hardly 15 days. Everything is same. The syntax will change, some installation will change. So be ready for changing your tech stack. If you are going into a big company, they can shift you anywhere, anywhere. So that is hibernate. But I will suggest you one thing as your well wisher, learn SQL. It will never ever ditch you. Oracle can ditch you in interviews. SQL will never ditch. And in your resume, write SQL as your primary database. Write Oracle also, but write SQL as your primary. Whenever you are writing your database, just write SQL, comma Oracle. That's it. Learn Oracle, SQL, that is MySQL. It will never ditch you. Oracle can ditch you sometime, but not my, it's very loyal. So we are using Hibernate because it's a very important one. And all the companies will always ask about Hibernate. They will never ask what is JBoss and no, never. Because Spring is not using them. When Spring is using Hibernate, then we will just use Hibernate. Now, let's talk about something as entity. So we will write here Hibernate is also called as entity framework. We can call this that this is the entity framework. Now there is a question arises. What is an entity? What is an entity? Those who are from BTech CSE, there is a subject DBMS, Database Management System. In that, you might have discussed about this particular word, entity. And I know that your professor has given you the definition that entity is something which exists in real world, right? Because they know that only that entity is something which exists in real world. In ER diagram, entity it as the top, this, that. So let's understand what exactly is an entity. And one more thing, when I'm saying that learn MySQL, so don't panic in that. You already know Oracle. It will take last 7 days for you to learn SQL. I'm saying 7 days. Within 7 days, you will be a master in SQL, right? So what is an entity? When we are writing about entity, so here we will say that entity is an application defined object. It is a application defined object which represent some of the data fields. Some of the data fields. These data fields can be persisted. These data fields can be persisted. Each entity class represents a database table. Each entity class will represent a database table. Okay, this is the second line. Here I have written that entity is an application defined object which represents some of the data fields. These data fields can be persisted. Let us talk about a human being. Now, human being is something which exists in real life. Human being is something which exists in real life. Is there something which does not exist in real life? This is my question to you. If you are saying that entity is something which exists in real life, then give me one example which does not exist in real life. Is there something which does not exist in real life? Yes, IPL trophy of RCB does not exist in real life. So whenever you are seeing this definition of entity, that entity is this year. No, entity is something which exists in real life. We are saying this from last 18 years. Ye sala kab namde. So entity is something which exists in real life. And this is the half information. The actual information, if you are writing this line, it should become something like this. Entity is something which exists physically, which exists physically in real life, and it has some properties. It has some properties. Now, if something is existing physically, non-physical things does not have any property. Let's say here I will write friendship. Now this friendship is a property. Does this exist in real life physically? Can you touch it? So the answer is no, we cannot touch friendship. If we cannot touch it, it does not have any property. Like it does not have any name, it does not have any salary, nothing. So entity is something which exists physically and it had some properties. Let's talk about human being. So if there is one human being, now 110% that human being will have name, Sure. That human being will have age. Sure. Yes. That human being will have parents. Sure. Right. These are the three things that being a human being everyone will have. That's why we are saying a human being is an entity which has some of the properties and human being exists in real life. Now there are multiple forms of this human being. A human being can be a father, it can be an employee, it can be a student, it can be a trainer, it can be anything. So while we are talking about student, student is something which exists in real life. Student will have their name, they will have their age, they will have their roll number. So this is a entity. This student is a entity. Now as we are working with Java, so we should write in a format of Java. Public class student, and we do not, Java is statically typed language or dynamically typed? Srikar, dynamically typed. How? How Java is dynamically typed? Java is a statically typed language. It means that before using any variable, you have to write the data type. That is typed language. Okay. So name will be in string, age will be in int, roll number will be in int. Shrikar, age can be double or not? Double or not? Double or float? No? What is your age right now? 26. How many month? Your age is complete. Today is your birthday. Then you will have something months also, right? 26 year, these months. When is your birthday? In which July? It means that right now you are 26-year old, and currently we are in the fourth month, 7. So how many? 9 month. This is your current age. If you convert it into year, it will become 26 point something, right? So age can be double also, right or wrong? Age can be double or not? Are your age will be in point or not? Then it can be double also. Roll number can be double or not? No? Okay. So this is your entity class. And now this entity class will represent a database table. It will say that yes, I am a table, and this table is independent of any database. All the fields of the class represents one separate column of table. They represent one separate column of the table. So that is what entity is. So let's understand what is the meaning of this line. But already I have written that. One more time we will write. Now if this is your table, whenever an entity framework is running the application, whenever an entity framework is running the application. It will convert automatically this class into a database table. The entity framework will convert this class into database table without writing any query. Without writing any query. So this particular name field will come here, or whatever is your first field, they will take their respective position. So here we will mention that particular line when and when any ORM framework is running the class, it will convert all the entity classes into database tables. Okay, so that's it. Did you understood this JPA and ORM? So a quick revision to JPA. JPA is an specification. That specification means it will not provide you implementation. You need an ORM tool. The same way like JDBC. JDBC is an specification. So you need something to implement. So you need driver, MySQL driver or Oracle driver. Yes, entity classes means those who are written with at the rate of entity annotation. And ORM is an approach where the Java objects will be converted into the database values like table or rows. So that is what ORM and JPA is. If you have any question in this complete what we have discussed in JPA and ORM, you can ask. Now, how sir you teach complete Hibernate? Is it a question or a order? Sir, you teach complete Hibernate. Is it a question or order? So what we are going to do in the next sessions, we are going to create Hibernate applications or means Java application using Hibernate, where we will perform all the CRUD operations. What will be the level of our Hibernate? We will learn complete Hibernate. I will never give you half information about anything. Either I will not touch that topic. If I am touching something, I will give you full information. So be free on that. The second is after performing all the CRUD operation using JPA Hibernate, we will convert our CRUD operation to Spring Data JPA. And now that is given by Spring for you. Internally it will use Hibernate because there are some problem in Hibernate also that we will solve in Spring Data JPA, and we will perform all the CRUD operation in Spring Data JPA, and that will be the last of Spring JDBC module. After that we will start Spring MVC. However, I have written two topics, so don't think it will end in 2 days. It is a very vast unit. When we are already having Can we see Hibernate performing? Yes, of course. We can see how Hibernate is writing queries. There is a option. Option is so SQL. You can turn on this option in Hibernate, so SQL. So it will tell you the queries that it is writing for you. Whenever you are running, it will tell you the query also that I am writing this particular query. So that is what we are going to do in the next sessions. We were having JDBC, then Spring gave its own JDBC. So technically, Spring JDBC gave us one class that was JDBC template. Remember, that was the only difference between JDBC and Spring JDBC. There is a same difference in JPA and Spring Data JPA. So this Spring Data JPA will give you some classes and interface like CURD repository and JPA repository. So it will give you these things. Anyways, we will see those things in upcoming sessions. From tomorrow, we will start learning Hibernate. So we will see what is Hibernate, advantages of Hibernate, disadvantages of Hibernate, and configuration of Hibernate. Hope we will do all these things tomorrow. Configuration means a very basic application of Hibernate we will create. Okay. So that's what we will discuss tomorrow. If you have any question in ORM and JPA, still you can ask. Framework. Hibernate is a ORM framework. Surendra, what error you are getting in this code? So your local host 51521 is not running actually. Listeners, you are trying to fetch it. You can try to do it with service ID. There is a problem in your URL. Your listeners are not installed properly. There is a problem in your configurations only. Fine, guys. We'll connect again tomorrow. Have a nice time, everyone. Bye bye. Take care.